Support for Amanpour comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, who are excited to introduce their all-new Rate Shield approval. If you're in the market to buy a home, Rate Shield approval is a real game changer, and here's why. First, Quicken Loans will lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. But here's the crucial part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Amanpour.
Just ahead, America is the original immigrant nation, so as the country marks Independence Day, we dedicate our program to this, which is the issue of our time. And Mexico's Foreign Minister, Luis Videgaray, joins us on the border wall, family separations, and U.S.-Mexico relations after the stunning election win of Mr. López Obrador. Plus, he escaped his war-torn homeland before winning a new life in the United States. My conversation with a Somali migrant to America and why he feels President Trump is betraying his American dream. Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Christiane Amanpour in London. President Trump and the left-wing president-elect of Mexico might make strange bedfellows, but they're pledging to work together in the future after they spoke at length by phone this week. Andrés Manuel López Obrador won in a landslide victory this weekend. Despite a net outflow of migrants from the United States to Mexico, immigration and trade disputes have sunk relations between the two countries to perhaps unprecedented lows. The Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, will travel to meet with Mexico's president-elect next week. And there he will also meet my next guest, the current and outgoing Foreign Minister, Luis Videgaray. And he's joining me now from Mexico City. Foreign Minister, welcome to the program.
Hello, Christiane. It's great to be with you from Mexico City.
So I just want to start by asking you, obviously, the question of our time and the question that's really standing between you and the United States, and that is the immigration issue. You have called the president's policies cruel and inhumane. We've all seen these horrendous pictures of children crying, weeping, separated from their parents. The president has changed this policy, but are you getting any assurances as to what's happening with the children, what the immigration policy is?
Christiane, let me start by saying that Mexico's relationship with the U.S. is extremely important, and it's also very wide, very complex. We have, it's not only about immigration, it's not only about trade, it's about security, it's about investment, tourism, culture, education. It's one of the tightest, more intense relationships between neighbors in the world. Certainly, we want to have a very good relationship with the U.S., and that's in the best interest of Mexico and Mexicans. However, there are some issues where we have public and notorious differences, and certainly Mexico has its own limits. And one of the things that has been a clear problem recently has been the treatment of children that have migrated into the U.S. and have been separated from their parents. We are of course, encouraged by the decision from President Trump to stop that policy from continuing, but you have to keep in mind that still over 2,000 children are still separated from their parents, and we want to be sure that this does not continue. We have introduced a resolution that was unanimously approved by the Organization of American States condemning this policy and demanding from the U.S. government to take care of the children in a proper way and quickly reunite them with their parents. I have also talked personally with Secretary General Guterres from the United Nations, also for the UN to be involved in this issue. So this is something that I believe all Mexicans, not only the Mexican government, certainly consider unacceptable. And yes, separating children from their parents, it's a cruel and inhumane policy that should not continue.
Now, as I said, the president has reversed that particular aspect of it. However, by implication, these children are being detained now with their parents who are deemed to have crossed illegally and, have to undergo some kind of, prosecution under criminal laws now. Again, have you received any assurances or explanations from the U.S. administration as to what's actually going to happen?
Well, let me tell you, Christian, we as the Mexican government fully respect U.S. sovereignty and the absolute right of the U.S. to define its own immigration laws and policies. However, no immigration laws can be above human rights protection, particularly of those of children. So this is why we're so involved in this problem. I have been talking to both the Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, and to Secretary of Homeland Security, Kirstjen Nielsen. I will be meeting with her in Guatemala next Tuesday with my colleagues from Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. We'll be meeting with her, and we expect not only to have words about it, but also actions. How can we all work together to prevent this, and what kind of policies is the U.S. putting in place to make sure not only the kids are not separated from their parents, but also that they are treated accordingly to their needs. And certainly detaining children is also a potential violation of their basic rights. So we continue to be concerned, and we continue to be working closely with the U.S. I expect that on Tuesday in Guatemala, it'll be a productive meeting where we hear from the U.S. specific measures to prevent this from continuing and happening again.
So let's move on now to relations going forward. As you have said, that it's very important to have a working relationship with the United States. So what do you think will change under a new presidential administration in your country? For instance, President Trump has often derided what he calls a trade deficit with Mexico. He's talked about ripping up and renegotiating NAFTA. Your own president-elect thinks NAFTA needs to be renegotiated, but I guess he comes at it from a different political vantage point than President Trump. How do you think things are going to be different under a new administration in Mexico?
Well, that's for the elected president and his team to explain. What I can tell you is that trade between Mexico and the U.S. is good for both countries. And we do not oppose modernizing NAFTA, and we're working hard to get it done. Yesterday, when President Peña Nieto met with soon-to-be President-elect López Obrador, they agreed that the current administration, before President Peña's term ends November 30, will continue to work hard in close coordination with the incoming team on trying to get the NAFTA renegotiation completed. And I've been in contact with the U.S., with the White House over these days, and they are certainly in sharing this objective. So the next few weeks will be of intense work with the U.S., and also with good communication and coordination with the incoming administration. NAFTA is good for everybody. It needs to be modernized. But trade between the two countries, and I should say the three countries, let's not forget NAFTA is a trilateral agreement, and we are very close to Canada and feel very good about Canada being our partner in NAFTA, is something that should continue. And that will not change regardless of politics in every country. Trade is good, trade is needed for the well-being of the three countries, and that will continue.
You say that, and of course trade is good, and all the economists say it's good. President Trump takes the view that the trade has been unfair and that actually a trade war is good. He's actually used those words, and he said it's easy to win. And clearly Canada, Mexico, other U.S. allies, and indeed adversaries are being slapped with tariffs and threatened with more tariffs. So again, are you concerned that that is going to be, the course of the future, even under a future Mexican administration?
We've been working already for over a year in the NAFTA renegotiation. We've been through moments of conflict. We've been through different ups and downs, but the process continues. I think we're significantly close to the agreement. There are some issues that have not been resolved, and that's what the negotiation will be about in the coming months. But I think we are on a good track. I feel good about our odds get it done. Obviously, you have to wait until the completion of the negotiation to see what the outcome is. There are risks in the process naturally, but I think that we've made enough progress, and the will both from President Peña Nieto and incoming President López Obrador is there. And I see also a strong will from the White House to complete the renegotiation soon. So we are I should say, reasonably optimistic about the process being completed relatively soon.
Okay, so that's about the substance, but there's also a lot of how to deal with President Trump that many leaders around the world are still trying to figure out. You know, some, like your own president, who received candidate Trump before the election, were incredibly nice and kind and polite and hospitable, and got sort of, some might say, not the kind of response and relationship they had hoped to get. I wonder what you make, again, with this trade situation of the Dutch Prime Minister, who was in the Oval Office yesterday, and he didn't sort of take it from President Trump. He pushed back on the idea of tariffs. I'll play it for you, and I want to ask you about it afterwards.
If we do work it out, that'll be positive. And if we don't, it'll be positive also, because
no,
we'll just think about those cars that pour in here and we'll do something.
Well, there you go. The Dutch Prime Minister telling President Trump that actually there's nothing positive about slapping tariffs on cars and, and creating sort of this tit-for-tat trade war. So have you in Mexico learned a lesson about how to deal with President Trump? Does it pay to appease him, or do you have to stand up for what you believe is in your own policy interest?
Well, I'm not in a position to provide lessons to anybody. I can share our experience, and I can share that we've chosen engagement, close communication. We have very clear public differences on several topics, including some aspects of trade. And when we agree, we clearly agree. But also when we have differences, we make it very clear to the U.S. administration and President Trump himself on tariffs. The U.S. imposed, we believe incorrectly, tariffs on our steel and our aluminum exports. So we replied immediately with tariffs on several U.S. products. So it's not only about rhetoric, it's also about actions. And I think that Mexico's actions speak for themselves.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you to respond to this then. You yourself, Foreign Minister, are considered somebody to have had a very close relationship right at the heart of the Oval Office, in fact, with Jared Kushner, the president's advisor and son-in-law. Quote, Jared and Videgaray pretty much run Mexico policy, which is what a U.S. official told The New Yorker late last year. But that was a problem for the U.S. ambassador to Mexico, Roberta Jacobson, who, as you know, has now quit. And this is what she said to me yesterday about her ability to reach the Mexican government. Listen to this.
It was a combination of things, but among them was this analysis that I wasn't having influence on the president, even if I felt like conversations perhaps with then Secretary Tillerson or other cabinet secretaries might have been productive. If in the end the vilification of Mexico continues, the demeaning of its cooperation continues, and the kind of language that we've seen from the president continues, then I felt I could no longer defend the kinds of policies that were being implemented.
So what do you think then, since they won't have somebody like yourself to talk to, somebody who can try to sort of, smooth the edges, do you perceive the U.S. still having a confrontational policy towards Mexico?
I think there are unresolved issues, certainly, on which we definitely don't agree. But I expect the current administration and the next administration to work hard to go to don't allow our differences to define their relationship. By the way, I should say I like Roberta Jacobson a lot. She was a great ambassador to Mexico, and we appreciate all the work that she did. But let's be clear. The relationship between Mexico and the U.S. is driven by the presidents. It was President Trump who decided that our main contact was to be Jared Kushner and now Secretary Pompeo. And And it was President Peña Nieto who decided it would be me as foreign minister who would coordinate the relationship from our side. But it's the presidents who make the important calls. And I expect that to fully continue through the end of President Peña's administration and started with President López Obrador's incoming administration starting December the 1st.
And on that note, Foreign Minister Luis Videgaray, thank you so much for joining us from Mexico City tonight. Thanks a lot.
Support for Amanpour comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Let's talk about buying a home for a minute. Because of rising interest rates, there's a lot of unpredictability when it comes to buying a home these days. It's causing a lot of anxiety with folks. Well, our friends at Quicken Loans are doing something about that. They're calling it the power buying process. Here's how it works. Quicken Loans will verify your income, assets, and credit in less than 24 hours to give you a verified approval. This gives you the strength of a cash buyer. Then, once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they'll lock your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. Now here's the best part. If rates go up, your rate stays the same. But if rates go down, your rate also drops. Either way, you win. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Amanpour. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply. Based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030. When you think of the things you do every day, brushing your teeth probably isn't top of mind. But for something that's so important to your health, it should be. That's why Quip wants to help you brush better. Quip is an electric toothbrush that's a fraction of the cost of bulkier brushes, while still packing just the right amount of vibrations to help clean your teeth. Quip's built-in timer helps you clean for the dentist-recommended 2 minutes with guiding pulses that remind you when to switch sides. Next, Quick subscription plans are for your health, not just for convenience. They deliver new brush heads on a dentist-recommended schedule every 3 months for just $5, including free shipping worldwide. Quip also comes with a mount that suctions right to your mirror and unsticks to use as a cover for hygienic travel wherever you take your teeth. And finally, everyone loves Quip. They were on Oprah's O List, named one of Time's best inventions, and is the first subscription electric toothbrush accepted by the American Dental Association. Plus, they're backed by a network of over 20,000 dentists and hygienists, and hundreds of thousands of happy brushers use Quip every day. Quip starts at just $25. And if you go to getquip.com/Amanpour right now, you'll get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/Amanpour. Spelled GETQUIP.com/Amanpour. Been putting off buying new glasses? Zenni Optical offers a huge variety of high-quality, stylish frames and state-of-the-art optics, starting at just $6.95. We've got all the great frame styles you want in materials like titanium, carbon fiber, and high-luster acetate. Plus, Zenni offers prescription glasses and sunglasses. So at this great price, you can build your eyewear wardrobe. You can get 10% off your entire order with code 360. So visit Zenni, Zenni, today at zennioptical.com and use code 360.
Now, as Mexico and the United States wrestle with how to handle migrants crossing their borders, we turn to someone who has made that treacherous journey on the other side of the world. Fleeing everything you know in search of safety, a better life, and freedom takes a lot of courage, and it represents the ultimate July 4th story. As Abdi Iftin well knows, he grew up in Somalia, a fervent believer in the American dream. Later, when the murderous al-Qaeda affiliate al-Shabaab forced him to flee to Kenya as a refugee, he sought a journey to America. And his story does have a happy ending because he literally won the lottery, the visa lottery, that allows him into the United States. Now, the Trump administration is threatening to axe that program, and it's all chronicled in Abdi's new memoir, Call Me American. He joined me from his home in Maine to share the harrowing journey that it took to get there. Abdi Iftin, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
So, Abdi, you talk about your earliest memories when you were in Somalia, your home country, at the height of a terrible famine. You know, I remember that famine because I was one of many journalists who came to cover it. And, you know, when President Bush at the time sent Marines to try to to try to stop that famine. But can you remind us of what you remember of those terrible days?
As a child at the time, I remember that it felt like just we were dying, because I was 5 years old when the war happened, and then the famine began in late '91 and then early '92. The thing that I can remember was we could die in any ways. You know, the bullets could kill me, or the starvation could kill me. So at that point, we never expected that I would wake up. I don't remember one day that I thought I would wake up and go back to bed without something happening. So it felt like, you know, death was very, very close.
And describe the feeling of hunger and starvation. I know that one of your little sisters died at the time. How did your family cope? I mean, what did you do when you saw that happening in front of you, your own family, and you were so young?
We did everything we could do. We ate the tree leaves. You know, we ate the skin of our feet at the time because we were trying to stay alive. And then my brother and I, when our mother could not do anything more and her feet was swollen because of the malnutrition, my brother and I jumped in and became the supporters of our family.
You said that you ate the skin from your feet. I mean, that is about as desperate as it can be.
It is. It is extremely desperate as it can be. At that moment, in that specific moment, it was, we could eat anything, honestly. I mean, we were just trying to have something in our bellies, something that could keep us alive another day.
What gave you hope? You did, you know, you grew up there, you did everything you could to survive, but in your book you describe, and of course your book is called Call Me American, and you were known as a kid there as Abdi the American. What was it about you that had your friends calling you that?
I felt completely overwhelmed by the American films, and specifically the few moments that I had encountered with the American Marines in Mogadishu. To me, it was amazing to see someone in uniform and with M16 guns, and the guns were not pointed at my head, they were pointed away from me. But my friends had started calling me American, specifically when I became a movie buff, that I could not stop going to the movies and I could not stop listening to the sounds and the words that the movie actors were saying. So at this point, when I became a translator and I started calling my friends to sit in a circle in this movie shack, and I said everything that was happening in the movie. I said, oh, he's going to kill someone. Oh, he says he's going to come back, you know. And they thought, wow, you know, you're understanding what they're saying. And I said, oh, yeah, so please call me American. And I was so proud of it.
You became so good at English that you translated all these movies for your friends. And then at one point, things started to go really badly, right? Didn't you start getting recruited by the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, the offshoot of Al-Qaeda?
The Al-Shabaab, which was actually aligned or part of Al-Qaeda, where they just arrived in 2006 when I turned to 22. And it was a perfect timing for them to start recruiting young men of my age. And it was when America recognized Somalia as an emerging Islamic state. And I found myself in the most difficult days in my life, because earlier, when the warlords were there, it was easy for me to hang out with my girlfriend, go to the beautiful beach of Mogadishu and walk around and ask my friends to call me American. And I would dance on the streets. I would go to the weddings with some friends, and we danced on American music, and I spoke American English, and I wrote English phrases on the streets. But when Al-Shabaab came, everything that I was doing became a crime, a sin. And they whipped me so bad for going with a girl to the beach. And they had called me on the phone to give me really a warning about my nickname. And they said, are you the one they call American? And they asked me to drop it. And that's what they were doing. They give you a warning first, and then the second time they shoot you. I wish I could leave at the time, but the Somalia was the borders were closed. I couldn't go to Kenya. I couldn't cross the ocean. You know, the pirates were at the time active on the oceans. So I wish I could leave in 2006 when Al-Shabaab came, but leaving Somalia was in my mind every minute of those days. And yes, that's when I actually decided to leave Somalia, but it took me years to do that up until 2011.
So Abdi, you then became one of the lucky ones. You won a diversity lottery for a green card, for a permission, a visa into the United States. That must have been the happiest day of your life.
It was my happiest days in my life. I was wondering if I prayed for miracle in my entire life, and that day is when I realized, wow, the miracle has just happened. Because no other country offers diversity visa lottery. The lottery that I applied at the time, and it was only America, and it was a perfect timing for me. And out of 15 million people that apply to this program every year, I became part of those few lucky ones. Actually, the chances are very, very low. All my friends applied, but they did not win. But somehow I did.
Fast forward to this year, where on World Refugee Day, you wrote a piece for Time magazine, and you say, people with the bad luck to be born in a war zone have always had a chance to become American. We could win the visa lottery, as I did, tougher odds than getting into Harvard, or be accepted as refugees. But when President Donald Trump banned immigrants from 7 Muslim countries, including my own, a ban expected to be upheld, of course we know it was upheld, the message to millions of people around the world was, your luck has run out. So how is it for Abdi the American in the United States right now? What do you feel about this country that offered you a new chance, a second, chapter in life under the current administration? Do you feel at risk?
Under the current administration, I feel threatened. I feel that my American dream had been betrayed by the current White House and the current president that we have. And unfortunately, what they are doing, the travel ban, is a gift to the group like Al-Shabaab, the same group that I avoided to recruit me and that I ran away from my country because of them. It's a good news for them. It gives them a good chance to recruit, and it also strengthens their image to go all over the place and try to recruit everybody else, because the current U.S. administration has closed its borders to everybody else. And it was not only me. It's not about Abdi. It's about all other dreamers that are out there that wanted to come to the United States in one way or another. And I have friends that are still living next door to my mother in the locally displaced makeshift camps in Mogadishu that say, well, Abdi, you made it, and you have given us some hope. It shows us that we have to dream too, that we can be like you one day. And they had been doing this for years. Mm-hmm. They applied the green card lottery every year. Unfortunately, they have not been selected, but they have been trying it. But now I received text messages, and they're saying, I don't even want to try this year. I mean, my dream has died, mm-hmm. and I don't know what to tell them.
So President Trump has said that ending this diversity lottery is part of his immigration reform idea. And obviously Somalia, your own country, is on the travel ban. You are trying to become a citizen. Do you think you will be able to? And how do you feel this July 4th, Independence Day?
I don't look at America the way I looked at America years before Trump was elected. I kind of feel sad. I sometimes see my face frowning, and I'm disappointed, of course. But I'm not disappointed in the entire American system. This administration is not going to be around forever. I have thousands of American friends that feel frustrated as well, that feel so bad the way America is behaving, the way this White House is behaving. What makes America a wonderful country is the way that the rest of the world sees America as an exceptional nation, as a nation that's known for its tolerance, democracy, freedom, and opportunities. And that is the way I saw America for my life, growing up, since those Marines have arrived, and they have given me candies and sweets and everything else as I was recovering from famine at the time. And then all the way up to when I became friends with so many Americans that saved my life and raised money to get me out of Somalia and then get me out of Kenya, when I won the lottery.
You've made a huge and exceptional effort to get to the United States, and we really appreciate you talking to us. Abdi Nur Iftin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Really poignant story of exceptional courage, and that is it for our program. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from London.